Folks, we have come to the end of the best ball road. This is the final best ball breakfast, and we flexed it to a nightcap edition. And I couldn't think of anyone better to help me close out a summer of hot best ball drafting than Alpha Play Mike Leone. Let's do it.
Oh, another Influencer 101 for the backward hats, bro. Rigged!
Zach Ertz with no Tyler Algier bringback? Yikes.
You reached around for correlation? That's a no-no. You ADP bros disgust me. How about you just live a little?
Handcuffing might actually be a way to get unique if the field's avoiding it.
The Wi-Fi at this resort is a disaster?
These fucking streamers don't have player takes. What if a piss boy draft is the room you need?
Oh!
Michael, Leone, are you ready for the season to start, or do you wish you could just draft best ball teams forever?
No, I'm ready. I'm ready for the season to start. Bring it on. That's the easy answer. I'm ready.
Tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like you didn't get quite the volume of best ball drafts in this year that you got down last year.
I didn't. I'm hoping to next year, like ramp it back up. But this year, I really felt the strain on like how popular best ball has gotten. So there's so much more attention to our rankings and stuff early that I felt like so much of my attention was there. And then it was almost harder to play because I was monitoring those so much. And then I was trying to do more fast drafts because the EV is definitely better than the slow drafts. And that decision definitely screwed up my volume because I wasn't carving out the time for the fast drafts. And I didn't have, a million slow drafts going on at once.
What I just heard you say was the specter of Brashad Perriman looms so large over you that you work tirelessly to update the ranks rather than draft yourself.
I just felt so responsible for Brashad Perriman and that exposure. So I had to get it right.
Oh, and this is not a knock on ETR. I didn't use the ETR rankings in my draft applet because I like drafting off of ADP because I prefer to know where my opponents are largely going to be drafting. But who were the guys that the ETR subs ended up with a lot this year due to your guys' rankings?
I thought you were gonna like the guy that I'm most petrified of being this year's Brashad Perriman is Kenny Galladay. Okay, because we've just we keep docking him and just nobody like he'll be in like round 17 now. And it's like he has to play, right? So
you don't have an input for stiffness of a mannequin.
we gotta work on that. But the guys that people got a lot of over the summer, especially Amon-Ra St. Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, that section of wide receivers is really kind of our guys. I think those two in particular we were really high on. Kadarius Toney, who I'm starting to just get scared of all the Giants stuff, quite frankly. But Tony's another one. And Trey.
What's your fear with the Giants too? Because I wrote up in the newsletter the other day, kind of like my 5 biggest question marks and things I'm most excited to play out. And the Giants offense was one of them because we're so excited about the Dable stuff. We've all come to grips with the fact that, or we've all okay with the idea of Saquon Barkley being a huge bounce back. And are you just getting nervous that it could just be the same shit show as it was last year?
Or that it could be better, but we don't necessarily benefit in the way that we want in fantasy where, Kenny Galladay's complete dust. Kadarius Toney's banged up all year long. Saquon Barkley got super expensive. I feel pretty good about Wan'Dale Robinson for all those reasons. So I think, he's one I feel good about, but it's like, where are we really profiting if that's the way it shakes out? I don't know. I still feel pretty good about Toney though. It's just, he's just got to stay on the field.
I know you weren't putting up quite the volume you would have liked, but, observing the online water cooler, the best ball thought leader space, all of the galaxy branding, what is kind of your macro takes about the best ball landscape? Because it has evolved a ton, even in just a year.
It has gotten crazy. And it seems like, whatever room you're in, like the volatility of the room you're in seems wider to me, like the variance of the room you're in, and doing your best to pick up on that early, which is, it's a guessing game to an extent, but I think there's a little bit of skill there. I think that's a pretty big deal now to read your room, especially in best ball. Cause in manage, it's easy to just be like, okay, I'm just going to punt running back. I don't care. It's a little bit harder to do that with best ball. So you kind of have to pick and choose your spots. So that's a big one. The other one that it's going to sound counterintuitive with a lot of stuff I've done, but I think we may have gone sometimes overboard with the diversification. I think I think not everybody has to play that way, right? Like with balanced rosters, I think it's fine if you want to have a whole portfolio where you have a bunch of guys that are 30, 35%, especially early in the season. That'll be my thing next year. We get Saquon in the third, just take him every single time and worry about where the ADP goes later. Trey Lance in the 10th, take him every single time. And there will be guys like for us, David Bell was a guy where the ADP ended up going the other way. And it's like, okay, you can make that adjustment later and maybe not take as much as you want. But early in the season, I really wouldn't worry about where the exposures are.
I think that's a really good point too of how just because you have 100% of a guy through 25%, the first 25% of your drafts, it doesn't mean you're going to end up with that. I kind of did that a bit with, Breece Hall. I really thought he was going to rise up more than he ended up rising up, partly because just the news and rhetoric out of camp was Michael Carter was looking good, but I just took my feet off the gas because his price more or less stayed the same. He moved up a little bit and then I got my percentage down to a good spot. Whereas with a guy like KJ Hamler, I was drafting him a ton early. I got a little bit of a luck box with the Tim Patrick stuff. And then I kept drafting him at his new ADP because I thought he was still a value. So you do have lots of flexibility there as far as like taking your foot on and off the gas pedal.
Yeah, you can't be too scared early because then Lance is a good example of someone where I'm a little squeamish at the current ADP. And it's like, if I didn't just blast that all of a sudden a guy that I was way ahead of market on and I was early on, I'm going to have like below average exposure because I was like diversifying in July,
Well, and I always think about, I know the way you and Dink and some of your MME styles, and specifically on some showdown slates, where if you think a certain player or a certain stack is kind of the mispriced or underutilized way to attack it, that you'll just 150 button lock that guy and then let it rip knowing, hey, I'll build all my combos because I think that is the unique edge on this slate. And I don't know that it's any different for best ball other than that the way information in the market changes, it's more of an ebb and flow. It's not like you can lock that value in at a specific time in the way you can DFS.
Yeah. And it's also kind of the sweat that you want to have and manufacture for yourself. If you want to have a less concentrated sweat, I get it. And I'm pretty diversified when I play but a big part of that is like, I'm really prone to dropping. I'm a value hound. The dropping ADP values I will take, but I'm not beyond that. I think like you don't want to go too far, just swapping like one for one because your EV isn't better, diversifying. It's more, I guess the idea is, Pat and I, when we were doing Establish the Edge together, had an episode on how to maximize your edge. And, kind of the thought process there was go all in on where your edge most is and then spread out around it. So for me with best ball, a lot of times I feel like the edge is in structure. And so if I'm going all in structure, I don't want to be tied to too many of the same players. And I guess that's where I'm transforming a little bit, where I'm starting to see, especially early in the offseason, maybe we have a bit more edge in the player take side of things. And I'm okay pushing that a little bit more. So that's one adjustment I'll probably make next year.
Yeah. And I just found, I had pretty smoothed out exposures last year. My exposures are even maybe more smoothed out this year. I don't think I'm going to end up with anyone over 20% other than I think Hamler. But what I found is I had player takes, but they were still like cohort of player takes, right? So I was always drafting those second year wide receivers around the 6-7 turn, the Elijah Moore and including like Drake London and those guys in there and fading the Alan Lazards and the Renfros. And so it's like, even though I don't have 40% of Elijah Moore, I was spreading that out to Devonta Smith and those guys. And so that's how I kind of viewed my stands this year. And it's like, oh yeah, I have a lot of Lance and Hurts because I was fading a lot of that next tier of the Dak and Brady and Derek Carr early on and stuff like that. So I think that's where I kind of came to peace with it, where it's like, I have player selection takes, but it's player archetype takes. And if you put those into cohorts, I would have massive bags of second year wide receivers and rookie wide receivers, but no like outsized position on one specific player.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. When I'm doing auction drafts this year, I have a pretty specific strategy, but it's similar in the idea of targeting these archetypes. It's like these receivers in rounds, end of round 3 to beginning of round 6. There's like 10 of them that are undervalued, and I'm not getting tied to any one because I want to get the best price. But I know if I just target those 10 wide receivers, I'm going to come out with, 4 of them at a pretty good price. And the same thing if you're doing multiple best ball drafts. Like and that lets you get the ADP value and still get the type of receiver you want.
Yeah, Brian does point out, I did have one strong player take, and it was via a fade. It just started as I was passing on him. And then once it became pointed out to me over and over, I had 0% David Montgomery. I just leaned into the bit. I do think otherwise, if it weren't for content equity, I probably would have ended up with around 3 to 4% D-Mont, because he was a pretty screaming value at certain points in my drafts. But sometimes you just got to embrace the bit, right, Mike?
You gotta do it. That's why I wore a running back jersey, so that we can draft some running backs tonight.
All right. I just hopped into a draft. I think there's a couple more spots here. If you guys want to join us here, one of my final Best Ball Mania 3 drafts. Let me see how many I have completed right here. I am at 145. So this will be 146. We're going to draft one on Splash Play tomorrow morning. That's going to be at 10 a.m. And then, yeah, just a few more here, Mike, to get my cacti reward again for maxing.
That is exciting.
How many did, I don't want to shame you. How many drafts did you get in? It just means you have a life.
I'm in the 20s for Best Ball Mania.
20. Okay. All right.
So not great, but you know, we got something.
Do you see who got in this?
Unbelievable.
Are you kidding me?
Unbelievable.
Pat, the thing is I don't even know if Pat's watching. I feel like he might just be blasting off right now. Wow. I can't believe we have to draft against your former podcast co-host, my current podcast co-hosts here. This is going to be rough.
Yeah. And when I talk about reading the room, I'm immediately like, okay, we got to pick and choose our running back spots so we don't get the wide receiver avalanche.
Well, maybe we could goad Pat into taking Rachaad White in like the 9th round. I could see that happening here. Exactly. It is a rule.
Oh my God. It starts already.
So Leone, I want the full Leone experience here. Who do you like?
I mean, if I was drafting like straight up, I would be taking Christian McCaffrey here.
Yeah, let's do it. You know, you see only 8% JT. Got to get even on the field here with my CMC as well.
What's the difference between the red percentage and the blue percentage?
So the red is my current one, and the blue is something Brian spun together. And it's funny because this is a basket of exposures. And again, this includes Pat exposures. It includes Davis's. It includes Hertzig's and mine. I believe it's he ran an average there. So you can kind of see who our group is low and high on relative to mine.
Oh, that's fine. That's interesting. That's cool.
I like it as a sanity check, you know, when
How are
you see
low
like,
on CMC, dude? What are you doing? Like CMC falls to like 5. I mean, he's the one who could just break fantasy.
Do you want to know why? I guess my cup is down a little bit, 12%. I have a ton of chase.
9.5%. That's
no,
actually, who you been drafting?
No, this isn't right. This isn't right. I need to fix this. I don't think I've updated. You know what I have it on? Because I changed it to include all of my drafts when I was trying to see the dollar amounts.
Oh,
okay. Let me fix this, folks. And then we can get back to it. Grab exposures, go back.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous about you leaving the draft room. I
Don't
know
worry
you're a
about
pro,
it.
but
who are we worried about? Who is the number?
We were talking about CMC.
6.2%.
Oh, even worse. It got worse.
JT's 12.4. Now check out my cup.
Why are you taking JT out of Christian McCaffrey? What are you doing,
13% cup. Why am I taking? So early on, I was in full Galaxy Brain 0RB mode, and I was taking a lot of cup super early. And Mike, I've streamed. Michael Dubner was tracking how many teams I drafted on stream. I've drafted 100 teams on stream this summer. This may be like 102 or 103. That's a lot of wide receiver avalanche rooms I've had to contend with.
Yeah. No, that's because you're getting the running back value later. And that's the thing is you can only take 1 or 2. And we've talked about this. If you're in the room the opposite, it's fine, you know. But when you're in the like a running back heavy room, you can figure it out. A wide receiver heavy room, there's only so many running backs you can take if they're really good values.
I knew it. Pat wasn't even watching this. Did you guys start tagging Pat on Twitter? I like how Pat says this is such a favor, but at least you gained a viewer. Oh, I don't need your pity clicks. Get out of here, Coraid.
Wow, the condescension.
Yeah, you gained a viewer. Get out of here.
Okay, we got some RB starts here.
Oh, wow. Michael Pittman at pick 19. That seems rich.
That's one guy that you don't have a lot of exposure to if you've drafted on ETR, and I'm scared of it. I'm
really low. Yeah, 4%.
I'm the walking, aren't you worried? Like that's just been me for like 3 months.
What are the scenarios where you are actually worried that Pittman buries you? Is it just that offense is so good that Matt Ryan just,
I guess Matt Ryan is, oh man. Hold on. Let's get through this turn here.
All right. We are on the clock.
Okay.
Don't worry about my exposures. I want the Leone experience.
Okay. Well, I feel like it's probably a bad idea to go running back here, but like Kamara is probably who I would. Well, I know who you want to take. Let's go Kamara. Let's go hyperfragile here.
All right. This is what I need. These final drafts, I've been way too comfy playing the hits. Kyle Pitts, AJ Brown, come on down. And Leone getting me outside of my comfort zone, making me draft running backs.
And then as long as if this guy doubles up on wide receiver, we could be in trouble though. Okay, well that's fine. We'll take I like T Higgins here a lot.
Higgins over Pitts.
I like Higgins over Pitts.
Okay, I'm getting the full Leone experience.
If you want the Leone experience, you're getting it.
I want the Leone experience.
So the Pittman thing, I guess, would be a combination of Matt Ryan is really good and they throw more as a result, and it's just super heavily concentrated on Pittman. But God, I feel like Pittman has to just be so good, and the tape grinders will tell you he's so good, but he just has to be like so good to really burn you. I feel like the way that offense is set up.
And that was my thing. Like in scenarios where, JT gets hurt or something, I don't even know if Michael Pittman is like a great beneficiary. I think the entire offense is crippled at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. And I don't know. I just have a tough time looking at Pittman and seeing him as that different than Deontay Johnson and Terry McLaurin. Like that's to me a cohort, and maybe Pittman's the best of the cohort, but I think he's more of. I'm trying to see where I have
the only thing that I don't like doing it necessarily with Pittman, but this idea of getting 2 third-round picks when you only have 1 third-round pick. Like, you're not going to end up with a lot of Michael Pittman and Mike Williams. I don't know if this is what Cleveland was specifically trying to tee up here, but I do think there's some merit in that if you do think this entire tier is relatively flat. I definitely get it in those contexts.
Yeah, the unique combo, because they go in such a tight range usually.
Yeah. It is pretty wild that this year we just didn't get any huge movements. Like the big was like, oh, Kamara moves from the 3-4 turn to the 2-3 turn. And, even after the.
We didn't have a huge injury like Akers last year. And
no. Short Gamer TV, what % of your drafts are 0 RB? I would have to check the chain. I would just off the top of my head, I would say about a third. I think I'm pretty balanced. 0 RB, hyperfragile, and hero RB, anchor RB, but a lot of my drafts lately have been more 0 RB.
Man, the quarterbacks are going early, huh?
Yeah. Wow. What a run here.
What is happening?
This is a weird, I guess we do have the Keenan and Herbert stack there, but the other two, Lamar unstacked, Mahomes unstacked.
Oh, we have an interesting room. We have we have three wide receiver starts, and then we've got a 3 running back start. It's an interesting room.
Yeah.
Well, you don't usually see that. You don't usually see a 3 wide receiver start go Zeke. Like usually that's an anti-ship chasing move.
Well, that's what we've talking about a lot lately too, is doing some of the patterns and then mixing up the players that are typically there. Like most of my zero RB starts are going to have J.K. Dobbins or Travis Etienne or Breece Hall, but getting, Zeke there as your first, it's certainly probably unique. Yeah, Willis is the only person on earth, I guess, other than this drafter who is a zero RB and Ezekiel Elliott fan. So, that's the perfect combination there. What was I going to say? Oh, someone asked, how do you define zero RB? Like when I was doing the advance rate stuff and looking at the data with Michael Dubner, we did it as no running back through the first 5 rounds. But people slice and dice that in different ways. But I think that's kind of the truest sense of it. Okay, well, I do think Leone, the going the hyperfragile in this room kind of worked out well.
Yeah, I'm torn here. I kind of like going Kittle and getting the tight end, and then we get one of these wide receivers for sure coming back.
This owner is definitely liable to take Kittle with this start and Debo already.
Right. It just depends if you'd rather go receiver and receiver, I think. If you want Kittle, you take him now for sure.
I'm okay with receiver because I like Juju, Deontay, Amon-Ra. Make a quick call.
Let's go Kittle. We're running out of time. Full Leone experience, Kittle.
We got him. I mean, I can't get enough of it. What was I at with Kittle? I mean, I love Kittle. I'm at 16%. So yeah, do you feel like these guys are mispriced? Kittle and Waller going in the 5th round all summer long?
I do. Okay. So this works out good. I would go, baby. I mean, I'd probably go Juju. I'm just obsessed.
I mean, Juju's almost like your season-long flag plant in a way, isn't he?
We got to go Juju. It's like here by ADP. Let's go Juju.
Yeah.
I think they're underpriced. I'm a little worried that all the San Francisco pass catchers suck. Like I could see them all not being good. Like I think this offense could go a specific direction that's not friendly for any of the pass catchers, but Kittle's my favorite of the 3 for sure.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a roller coaster for those 49ers pass catchers, but man, it's still not hard to see Kittle having that 30-point week in one of those playoff weeks and just being the guy that single-handedly drags you to an advancement round.
I think Lance's passing prop week 1 is like 210 yards.
Yeah.
Like that's an immediate reality check if you've got a lot of San Francisco pass catchers.
Oh yeah. I mean, even the over under on that game, they're 5.5-point road favorites and it's a 41.5-point over under. Like everything. I mean, I know it's out on the road at Chicago, but it's like everyone thinks that's going to be a very gross game by basically all standards.
Yeah. Wow. Here's the Avalanche, huh?
Yeah. Although normally if you can avoid the Avalanche, sometimes you're in these rooms and you're having to take Elijah Moore at pick 50. So I'll take this. This feels like a luxury.
Yeah. We at least have T and Juju no matter what else happens, but we're probably going to have to patch together quarterback.
Joe mentioning McLaurin, I would say he's similar to Pittman for me and a guy that I don't mind. It's not like I dislike the player, but it just never feels good clicking on him over other wide receivers in the same range.
Yeah, McLaurin was totally fine there. I prefer Juju. It is crazy how Juju's another guy, and Juju and Amon-Ra, I mentioned, being 2 guys you were super heavy on if you did ETR, and I just checked and we're like a little bit behind the positional ADP on Juju now. It's changed so much. It's like crazy.
Yeah. Dalton
Amon-Ra was going in like round 7 at one point.
Oh yeah. You said the ETR ranks had him high. You get the Hard Knocks bump. Obviously everyone remembers what he did down the stretch last year in Best Ball Mania 3. Or Best Ball Mania 2. He basically has all of the signals pointing to him getting steamed up, which is exactly what happened. Dalton says, why take McLaurin over Dotson price adjusted? I completely agree with you. Although I don't know, like that kind of logic gets a little tricky because then it's like, why ever take AJ Brown when Devonta Smith is there? Why ever take, there's other pairings like you can do that. And then you'll never end up with the safer play in the offense.
Yeah. I don't think like that at all, really. My exposures will bear it out if that's how I feel, probably, but you don't have to just decide one. You don't know how the draft's going to play out. Maybe someone in the room loves Dotson. Um, and sometimes you're making bets like for a while the Denver wide receivers are undervalued. They're definitely not anymore, but for a while they were, and it was fine to be overweight Judy and Sutton. You didn't have to, pick one. They're both not going to hit in a big way, but if we could identify which one ahead of time, we'd be rich.
Yeah, we sure would. It would be really nice to have a crystal ball on the Chiefs. So we're going to be picking here at the 6-7 turn. This will be interesting. Just checking the Dobbins does go here at pick 68.
I got Dobbins last night in a draft at the end of round 7 as an RB2.
Really? Wow.
It was a full PR league, but still, it was pretty crazy.
So
okay, this is going fine for us. I like London here.
Yeah. I like London as well, clearly, with my 18.6. And I don't think Turn Me Up is going to take Burrow, and we could still get that stack if that's what you're eyeing here on the wrap.
Yeah, can you go to quarterbacks?
Yeah. We could also punt.
Okay. I think it's Burrow. I was going to take Devonta Smith. I like that, but I think I'd probably grab the Burrow stack here. The quarterbacks are going hot.
Yeah, David mentioned double tapping both, which would have been fun, but he goes, and I don't see anyone else here that really is screaming over Burrow.
Yeah, this is where, it's Burrow's right at his ADP. I think his ADP is a little bit rich, but with this stack and no clear alternative, I don't really see any reason not to. We definitely don't need a running back. And then I think that was a teardrop at wide receiver after Devonta went.
Brian, call your credit card company and ask for a chargeback, because even for $10, this DeMont bid is worth far more than $10, but I appreciate you sending that in. Tyler has a question for you, Leone. He says, has your run-inspired epiphany that's changed have you had a run-inspired epiphany that's changed how you view a situation or player during the offseason? A moment of exercise clarity, if you will.
Let me come back to that one. I want to think about that. And
okay.
Then
I will say too, I would say outside of the shower, running for me is the other place where the thoughts percolate in a nice way. And I don't know if I can think of an exact one off the top of my head, but it is a nice place to clear your thoughts.
I'm trying to think if there's a player that I've really, I guess for like Juju and Amon-Ra, I hate going back to them, but like early in the offseason, I think Amon-Ra, I had a moment of clarity where I was reading some of JJ Zachariason stuff, doing some of our own analysis, and like just looking at his target shares by week down the stretch. And it just became quite clear that the market was, it was all upside potential at the cost that he was going. We had him projected for like a low 20s target share for a guy who earned like a 33% target share over 6 games, and he was still popping as a value.
Yeah. It was fun. Oh, go ahead.
They definitely had some moments where I'm like, this Philadelphia offense could go nuts. I've had a hard time capitalizing on it too much in drafts, but I'm pretty excited to watch the passing offense. And if Hurts is good, I think it could be really exciting.
And so it sounds like it's so much easier for you to envision ceiling scenarios for the Eagles than it is for the Niners, because I think for a lot of ways they kind of feel like they have twins at each position and have a lot of similarities in that regard.
Yeah, the reason and again, I've had a hard time capitalizing on the Eagles. I think the difference for me is I can see the Eagles throwing at a much higher rate than I can San Francisco. And we do. We've just seen it a little bit with Hurts more than with Lance. The other thing, if you look at like the costs are all, the costs are slightly better, right? Like AJ Brown goes after Debo, Devonta and Ayuk go in a similar spot. Goddard goes clearly after Kittle, so it's like slightly better costs when you average it out too.
Yeah. if the thesis is if the Eagles pass more, and I obviously agree with you that offense could be incredibly fun. How are you thinking about the running game there?
Yeah, I was having this conversation last night about Miles Sanders, where I don't really like him, but he's starting to fall to a point where I think someone in chat called him the most disrespected running back with a career yards per carry over 5 ever. So I've been taking a ton of Gainwell to start the year in hopes that they throw more, and that includes Gainwell in the game plan a bit more. And I think Gainwell maybe won't ever be a workhorse, but has big playability and a lot of high value touches where you could get work in the red zone and work the passing game. But I am starting, if Miles Sanders slips far enough, I think just his efficiency in the ground game, even if it's not a heavy ground game like it was last year, is worth taking a swing on.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is one of those classic things. It's been so much easier. I click, I think Gainwell's actually in my top 5 exposures now too. And it's so much easier to click those guys than in manage. Sanders is a little harder to click, but I like both of those guys in underdog. Let's see what we have coming up here at the 8-9 turn. Pretty typical pocket of players here. I don't think anything crazy is happening in this room right now.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what we got here.
What is our friend Daily Rojo doing here? Similar to structure. He takes Rashad Penny. Pat's big out on Kenneth Walker.
I think we're probably hitting receiver here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to. I mean, it's probably Sky, right? Like,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's always Sky around here.
It's very on brand.
How are you handling this George Pickens steam? You know, I don't think it's enough to where it's like I'm shying away from him because people have him at pick 150. On the other hand,
it's just enough
rich
to be annoying. But where did Boyd go?
Boyd's here if we want him. Little bit of a reach, but probably he's ADP of 110 and we pick at 119. So he's not coming back.
Yeah, I think I'd go Boyd with the double stack and kind of trust my ranks, which have all these guys pretty close to one another, even though Pickens is obviously more exciting.
The only other thing I've found myself in this similar spot with Burrow wanting to get double stacks, and I have been willing to wait to get Hayden Hurst, but I also don't mind taking him here at all.
But that was a tough one. I think Pickens would have been a fine pick there. I haven't taken like any Robert Woods at all. I don't think he's terrible there, but I should have known Burks wouldn't come back to us with Pat in the room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Burks still feels like a crazy value to me in these drafts. Do you think Pickens should be going ahead of Burks right now?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But we have it ranked that way, but that's more to do with other people's opinions.
You're telling me Evan Silva came in with he's got that dog in him model and overruled?
One of the hard part with regs too is like there's all these people in their home league that you don't know if they're going to understand the type of bet they're making on some of these guys. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
yeah.
Like if they're going to draft Burks, are they going to hold on to him if he doesn't have that much usage through 2 games? Or like they going to understand like with a short bench? But I think he could be more involved right away than we realize, where maybe he's not a starting wide receiver, but his targets per route run are pretty high and he's running like enough routes.
Charlie says you capitulated on the...
Charlie, I did capitulate.
The chat, you guys all wanted the Sky Moore clip. A lot of you guys are outing yourself as not regular Best Ball Breakfast. We don't... The Sky clip, that's a ship chasing exclusive. I guess I could have done it. You know, screw it. Pat's in this draft. I want to rub it in his face that we got him. Here you guys go. Don't riot.
Sky Moore, 2 Ys.
That's the fucking sickest name I've ever seen for a wide receiver in my goddamn life. Sky's up!
Oh, let's go.
right. There we go. There we go. We got the clip out of our system.
Love it.
Yeah.
I went for a run before the show. I was thinking of saving it, but
Saving what? Your
saving
run?
the run for the show.
I know. I wasn't gonna make that ask. I was like, I don't know if that was such a magical night. For those of you guys who don't know, earlier on the Ship Chasing channel this summer, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, maybe not even quite, Leone stuck around for a second draft, but he still had to squeeze in his midnight or late night run. And so he drafted with us while running. The fact that your audio and internet and your ability to comprehend what was going on stayed that high was truly the alpha play moment of the summer.
I thought about running it back figuratively and literally, but I was thinking with just me that might become a problem managing the draft room. Like chiming in is one thing. Being the only guest is another thing.
Yeah. You know, I'm trying to think, how do we not have in the future, right? We're supposed to have the Google glasses, and you could have the draft board up on your one thing and you could be running and
This
just
sounds
looking.
dangerous.
Yeah. Charlie wants to know what your mile time is.
So I did a 5K on Friday. Keep in mind it was 82 degrees, but I did it in 2026, which is my best since high school. So I think that's like 6:30-ish mile. I don't know if I ran
That's
a straight
really good.
mile, how fast I could do it. I think I could break 6 given that, but I don't know for sure.
2026 in a 5K. I don't believe I have cracked that as an adult. I think I've like 21s have been my best 5Ks as an adult. So that's impressive shit.
Thank you.
All right.
You.
What do we got here?
Okay.
No obvious quarterback.
We're on the board. Okay. I like Kenneth Walker a good bit.
I do too. I think he'll be there for us at our
Okay,
next
so
pick.
would you rather go Damian Harris or you?
Let's do Damian right now. I think Damian at pick 119 is nice, and I will fall on the sword if Kenneth Walker goes here.
I think if we went Harris Walker, we could straight be done at running back.
I agree.
Henderson was in the play too. Okay. I think we go Walker and we're done at running back.
Yeah, he's been sliding in drafts. I still like him a lot. Pete Carroll had another quote today, kind of hemming and hawing about how this is uncharted territory for them and handling this injury. So I have no handle on what a true timeline is, but I think it's fine.
I'm a little concerned because Pete is generally really optimistic and he's not being very optimistic. So yeah. I'm definitely, aren't you worried? Yes, I'm worried, but I also feel like the thesis of the play a bit is that he crushes the end of the season. And as long as if he's out 3 weeks, I don't care, right? Like if he's out 6 weeks and it's a lingering injury through the problem, then that's a big deal. But if he's just out like 3 to 4 weeks, he comes back fine, takes him a few weeks to get the job. That's cool. I mean, in round 11, that's fine. In round 9, you might need some more immediate production. Round 11, you don't need that production right away.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like him in both builds like that. There aren't really builds that I don't like him in, because if you're doing a hyperfragile build, like you said, I mean, he can be a hammer down the stretch. You don't need him early. And if you're doing a 0 RB build and you have a lot of, fast track guys, maybe, or fast start guys, Melvin Gordon, Devin Singletary, or pass catching, like you want a guy with just mega upside who could score 25 plus points down the stretch in the way Rashad Penny did last year. So I'm still very much in on Kenneth Walker.
How do you feel about Damian Harris with the Ramondre rise? Harris has started to fall a lot, and yeah, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you how I feel about it. you got to value hound the Damian Harris at pick 119. I do think my concerns aren't necessarily with Stevenson in a weird way for Harris. Like, I feel like if they have a 2-man condensed backfield, like both of them could eat, it's more just, I'm a little spooked on the Patriots. Like, I was pretty bullish on them early on, and then you had all this negative training camp noise about how they were so dysfunctional. And then they lose Tyquan Thornton, who I think was going to be the only guy that added an interesting, like, speed vertical threat to that offense. And so I'm just kind of worried that the offense is going to be neutered. But don't you think this could, if it's condensed around those two, that they both could smash ADP?
Yeah, to some extent. the rise for Ramondre shouldn't be correlated with a fall for Harris, because the Ramondre rises, he's going to, take Ty Montgomery's third down work, right? I mean, that's part of the reason he's risen lately, is like all those good comments, and that has nothing to do with Damian Harris.
Yeah, exactly. And you notice that with a lot of, I'm trying to think of another good example. Oh, a good one would be the George Pickens stuff. Like, and maybe you disagree, but the way Deontay Johnson has slipped because of the George Pickens steam doesn't really make sense to me, especially how different they are as players and how they're going to be used.
And in general, I mean, you're just hoping that offense is better than expected, and that's going to be good for everybody. If Pickens is good, the offense will be better. Hopefully they throw more. Hopefully, I mean, I think we see Pickett sooner rather than later. I know Trubisky won the starting job, but I feel similarly with Claypool, where Claypool has gotten so cheap, and I understand that there's some more correlation between those two, because Pickett's going to play ahead of, or Pickens is going to play ahead of Claypool in 2 wide receiver sets. But I'm like, dude, if Claypool could just absolutely smash in the slot, and they're going to play 3 wide receiver sets 80% of the time, I don't care if he's out there 80% of the time instead of 100. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I noticed here, I had missed it at the time, Pat scooping up Miles Sanders at 118 is a pretty extreme value there as well.
If Pat's taking Miles Sanders, it's a value, because he does not
Exactly.
want to take Miles Sanders.
All right,
What are we
we're
looking
done
at the onesie? I was gonna say, the onesie positions here.
We don't have any obvious stacks. There's no smash tight end fallers. This is a pretty gross zone for wide receivers. We'll talk it through, Leone. You got us into this mess, and now you need to get us out of it.
I think Wandale is a wide receiver break. I feel good about Wandale.
Yeah. I mean, this is generally what I do, is kind of bypass this tier here of guys that I'm not quite as excited in.
Honestly, I don't mind Chark either, but I think I know what we should. I know what we should do. We should have done it, and we'll see if we should take Albert. Oh, we've got kind of a game stack set up for week 17 already.
Wow.
Even though we don't have Mahomes.
Yeah, the only I'm with you. I'm down to take Alberto for sure. The only other benefit of Chark, and he goes, so it doesn't matter. I was going to say, just sets us up for another secondary stack option along with Daniel Jones. But we also have.
Do you care about the matching bye weeks? I didn't mean to cut you off. We were on. Yeah,
I've done this double 9 bye week a bunch at tight end, and it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, I think I'm with, like, I hate leaving points on the table, but if you're gonna, tight end for 1 week, there's going to be people that have bye weeks that are lined up nicely that are going to score 0 at tight end, because their second tight end is going to be so bad, or their third, even their second and their third.
The chat wanted me to save I had to save our draft with Crack Rock last week on ship chasing with a KJ Hamler pick, where I just went rogue, Leone. Normally we're discussing, and I was so nervous about how weak we were at wide receiver that I just selected KJ Hamler without even having a conversation. The chat wanted me to do that here, but as you can see, 22.8% overriding Leone to take a guy I take in 1/4 of every draft. Didn't seem like the Leone experience.
Dude, the Hamler stuff, yeah, is that Tim Patrick injury really? I think the Hamler stuff could have been ugly, but you're alive now.
I agree that it was a nice suck out on the 18th round shares, but I also don't think he was killing you there. And part of the thesis,
people were taking him early though, when they shouldn't have been before the Tim. Maybe you weren't, but like, he wasn't, like, I think he eventually became an 18th round pick, but like, there was, like, when the drafts first started, people were taking him like, he was going like, 13, 14 pre Patrick injury. Then he fell to 18, and then he got moved back up.
Yeah. Part of my whole thing, even when I first wrote about Hamler in the newsletter, was like, he has so many outs to getting there. And I didn't think he had it just if nothing happened, but I felt like he had the open-ended straight and flush draw, and you had a turn in the river to get there. And we hit, the straight draw with Tim Patrick. To use a poker analogy, if you will, Michael.
Yeah, he's also, I mean, if you are going to play better in best ball, Hamler does make some sense in that regard.
Yeah. But you don't like Hamler because you were talking about the Denver bring back and you just completely glossed over Hamler. So I get it. I get it. I see where you're at. Right wing gets
I
him.
think Hamler's a prospect that everybody found was undervalued, and now they're overvaluing him because he was undervalued 2 years ago. That's
Beyond, you
my
can't think he's
Hamler take.
you can't think he's at least a fair value at pick 156.
All
He's gonna
right,
be on the
he's
field for every snap with Russell Wilson this year.
150. His ETR rank is 154. So
Look at that.
there,
Look at
we've
that.
we've
And let me
reached
guess,
common
you have him
ground.
at 170 and Silva had to come in there and boost him up.
We have him behind positional ADP though. But no, I mean Hamler's fine now, like where he's going. It's just when he was going in round 14 with Patrick there, I think it was like really asking a lot.
Yeah.
And these injuries do happen, to your point. Like we don't want to, like the season's chaotic. People are going to get hurt. There were 3 guys in front of him that could have gotten injured that would have helped him. And one of them went down.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean also, and then Dulcich is out too. So if there was any thoughts of them running maybe more 2 tight end sets or whatever, that seems less likely now as well. All right, so our structure here for the audio listeners, I won't recap every single pick like we did on a ship chasing draft the other night when Davis was on with us. We do have Joe Burrow at quarterback. We have Christian McCaffrey, Kamara, Damian Harris, Kenneth Walker at running back. Wide receivers, T. Higgins, Juju, Drake London, Sky Moore, Tyler Boyd, Wandale, George Kittle, Albert O. This is a fun team, Leone. I mean, you haven't snuck too many olds on here.
I get a bad rap with the olds. Okay, you guys really put me in a corner, and I'm showing my true colors here. Okay.
Nick says, I've never heard someone not incredibly high on Hamler. I'm shook. Well, you see,
This is exactly what I'm talking about, Nick.
because Michael Leone is he's able to detach our group hive mind circle jerks on the players we like and just give you straight analysis right down the barrel.
No, but you guys are in my head always. I'm like I'll have like a 12th round Melvin Gordon, and I'll be like, am I allowed to click this? Like I know, like I've got him 20 spots ahead of 80 or 20 spots ahead of where he is right now. And
We're
I'm
the
still
nicest bullies there's ever been. I mean, you got to give it to us on that.
Let's go.
Do we
I mean,
want
I
to
know we
lock
don't
up
have to
Daniel
go quarterback
Jones?
yet, but I'd go Daniel Jones.
And this is setting up for the Kenny Golladay in round 16. I can
Baby.
absolutely feel it right now.
Maybe do you think Pat would trade Sky and Burks? You think we could? I guess we need Sky for correlation too.
Yeah, we'll ask Underdog to facilitate a one-time trade. Who do you like here with this pick?
Oh shit. I don't know. You got someone. What do you I'm a little thrown off here.
I've been kind of buying this Christian Watson dip. If we want to keep loading up on wide receivers.
I think that makes sense. I like buying the Christian Watson dip.
Especially with this, I don't know
like
if
Lazard's got this thing, like undisclosed thing. Round 15 feels like a good time to like that seems I don't see how that could be a bad pick given the uncertainty of the situation and his draft capital.
Yeah. And I mean, with the Lazard stuff, I heard he saw a doctor and they did an x-ray and the doctor said that he didn't have that dog in him was the diagnosis. Undisclosed. I mean, a lot of people haven't wanted to say it.
Oh man, Cleveland 2021 takes David Bell. Shocker.
There you go. Yeah. Who would have seen that coming?
Dude, Isaiah Likely in round 13.
Wow. Where did I miss that one? Okay.
Somewhere
all right.
in the middle.
Jeez. Pick tight end. Wow. Okay. All right. We're at that point with Isaiah Likely. So Leone, with this construction 2-4-7-2, do you think are we getting to a 10 wide receiver build? Do you think here? We probably have one luxury pick.
That's the thing. We don't even need a 10th wide receiver. So I might just like see what's there in round 18 and just take like best player available. It could be any position. Because with our with Burrow, I think Burrow's slightly below some of the higher tier quarterbacks where I wouldn't be absolutely against taking, Mariota or something
Yeah.
as a third
So
quarterback.
talk that through with me because, and tell me if I'm wrong on how I'm thinking about. I'm definitely open to the three quarterback thing in a build like this where we have Burrow and Daniel Jones. If I'm trying to get a stack with a Pitts or a London, I'm almost exclusively taking Ritter as the QB3 in that scenario. I have started to take a little bit of Mariota, but in different contexts. How are you thinking through like the Mariota Ritter or just Malik Willis, Pickett, like upside quarterback thing?
I do think I would go Ritter after you mentioned that because we're fine for the first 6 games. Whereas if you've got 2 shaky quarterbacks, maybe you take Mariota because you don't want to leave points on the table early. But we have one rock solid quarterback, one quarterback value we like, like you have to admit is shaky. But we can bide time and hope to have a unique stack in the playoff format. So I think I'd go Ritter. I'd assume Ritter's less drafted than Mariota too.
He is. Yeah, I would just anecdotally off the top of my head, I would say Mariota's drafted in like 90% of leagues and Ritter's drafted in 10 or 15% is just how it feels to me.
That alone seems like a reason to go Ritter over Mariota in the context of this structure. But even if you were isolated outside a tournament, I think there's some merit to taking Ritter over Mariota with the way we've built.
The whole Mariota thing, Mariota Ritter has kind of broken my brain a bit because I do think Mariota is going to be really good when he plays. Like I think he's going to have such a nice floor and some really nice upside, but it's just hard to imagine him playing all 3 playoff weeks unless he's just scorching earth the whole season.
Yeah, and Ritter was pretty good in the preseason too. And they both have some rushing chops too. So they're both kind of interesting gambles late because a lot of times when you're taking a late quarterback, there's almost no upside whatsoever.
Don't fucking do it, Corain. If Corain took Kenny Galladay there and ruined a Mike, I mean, Leone, are we not taking Kenny Galladay at pick 191 in a Daniel Jones stack?
We're taking Kenny Galladay. We got to get that 6.2% up.
I wish I had some like Brazilian dance clip to play right now with him dancing with a mannequin. That would be fun.
What are the other wide receivers right now?
Oof.
My boots on the ground take is that Jamison Crowder is going to end up playing a lot more than people realize.
I want the full Leone experience. I feel like taking Jamison Crowder at pick 194 is how we do it. What if Jamison Crowder and Kenny Galladay is the round 16, 17 turn you need?
So one of the things I love about best ball though is your player pool is expanded so much from the start of the draft to the end of the draft, right? Like in managed, it's so much narrower. Like there's running backs in the first 4 rounds that you would not take ever in managed, right? Like almost no scenario. Best ball, James Conner fell round 4, and I was like, okay, anchor running back with James Conner round 4, and then with the wide receivers late too, because I'm drafting so many wide receivers early and managed. It's just all rookies and sophomores late, like just like pure upside late and managed. And then in best ball, I can fire these dusty olds who are gonna, see 6 targets a game and feel not too bad about it.
Yeah, and I would have by myself, heart to God here. I don't know if that's a phrase. My heart to God up there. I would have taken Kenny Galladay even by myself in the darkness of my own room. I would not have taken Crowder, although the chat does point out to me a week 17 bring back there with Crowder, although some people were standing Khalil Shakur there.
Yeah, well. I think Shakir's an interesting late round guy too. They don't have a lot of depth at wide receiver, right? I mean,
yeah.
But part of me, like McKenzie's so tiny, has that weird contract. Like I don't know if he's holding up over the course of the season. I think they might want Crowder in more of the traditional Cole Beasley role by the end of the season. And I think Crowder could be their backup at 4 different spots, unless Shakir's really good, which he might be good enough this early, in which case he would be the better pick. And I think they're going to rotate more than people realize just in general, even if nobody gets hurt or anything. So I think both Buffalo wide receivers are very good late round bets, just playing on an offense that's going to throw a lot and use a lot of wide receivers, but doesn't have a lot of wide receiver depth.
For sure. Looking at the running backs, I mean, you're in true, dart throw galaxy brain territory here. I think we're certainly fine even waiting. Like, even if you told us Kenneth Walker's not coming back till week 5, I think we're perfectly fine with a CMC Kamara Harris, right?
Yeah, I feel really good at running back. I mean, those are the two types of backs you want if you're going hyper fragile. And your wide receiver, we feel. I mean, this team feels pretty good if it ended now. So this is really a luxury pick in the night in the 18th. Usually it's pretty obvious. I kind of like the Ritter stack.
Yeah.
What do you think? The other guys, I don't. Are you completely out on Will Fuller?
No, I'm not.
So he
I've joked around that I thank the market for pushing him down because I generally forget about him because he's not at the top of the queue anymore.
I think
Oh, he
he's
got drafted in this one.
he just got drafted,
Just
18-9.
drafted. Yeah.
I think he's like we could do Shakir and do the double late.
That's why I
buff
put
wide
him in
receiver.
there.
That's interesting.
It is luxury. I mean, I definitely love the idea of having 3 different quarterbacks to get unique stacks at different points. It's like the Burrow
Yeah.
Higgins hits one way, you know.
I think it's Ritter, but Shakir is interesting, but I think it's Ritter.
Yeah, I think if we wanted Shakir, it was deciding between Shakir or Crowder. But with this kind of team, I love the Ritter selection.
Or if this was like Mahomes instead of Burrow, where I felt like that much better about the quarterback, maybe I'd go Shakir. But I think there's going to be some games for Cincinnati where they're kind of boring, and we're going to want 2 dart throws at backup quarterback to hit some ceiling in the playoff weeks.
Yeah. All right. Give the final recap on this team. Haven't done a lot of hyper fragile late, so I like that we did kind of this modified one there. The 2 early, and then the 2 upside guys in the mid. One a high upside rookie, and another a value hound faller. What else do you think about this team?
Yeah, I like this team altogether. I mean, usually in round 18, you have a very specific need in mind where you need to fill out. We had a luxury pick there. I like getting 3 different stacks. We did it at pretty good ADP value. I don't understand why T. Higgins has gone from a late 2nd round pick to being pretty reliably there in the 3rd round. So I've been taking tons of him lately. And of course, we got Juju, my guy this year. So what a way to go out in the best ball streets.
Yeah. I mean, Juju had to be the guy there. Yeah, I like this team a lot. And again, it's one of my favorite, I say this a bunch, but one of my favorite things about drafting with my smart friends is we, structurally we're on the same wavelength, but you help me navigate it in ways that are sometimes the less comfy ways for me, because I just fall into my same habits a lot when I'm drafting on my own. And so just navigating drafts through slightly different canals, so to speak, is just, I like getting that variety, because it just goes to show you can build logical teams basically no matter who you're taking early. You just have to continue to build on what you've already done.
Yeah. And it was a gamble going with Kamara instead of wide receiver there. The draft broke nicely for us, where we were still able to get that Juju Kittle turn when we sacrificed either a 2nd wide receiver or Pitts at the 2-3 turn in order to go Kamara with the hyper fragile. Like, there are ways where that goes bad. It doesn't always work out that way, but sometimes you got to, take the value and just hope the draft goes your way.
Oh no. Did you know that we drafted 2 tight ends that have a week 9 bye? Should I just call underdog and tell them to void this entire draft?
That's collusion. We clearly were tanked for the rest of the league.
Can you imagine a world where underdog throws out double bye weeks at the onesies?
I wonder what the median expectation is for your 2nd tight end on your 1st tight end's bye week.
It has to be what, like 4 to 5 points?
Yeah, and half PPR.
If even?
I mean,
yeah.
I was gonna say 4 to 5, like the exact range you said, and that is maybe high. Yeah, maybe that's right. But
let's look at it. If I need that 4 points to advance, I don't just throw the team out. I don't want that fucking cherry. The team sucks if I need those 4 points to advance, Michael.
I mean, I'll feel bad if we needed those 4 points, but
exactly. the chat is pushing for another draft. I don't think I have it in me unless Leone, you want to push me to doing another one right now. And then I won't say no.
Oh, no, I'm with you, man. We got Vegas coming up this
We do.
week. We got a sushi samba dinner between me, you, Gretch, and Karain. So we got to get our beauty sleep. We got to be ready.
Yeah, tomorrow I have Splash Play at 10. I have Serious from 11 to 1. I have Randomizer Draft at 8. I have Club Top Shot at 9. So I need to chill a little bit, recharge the batteries for tomorrow.
He's got to do 5 hours of work tomorrow, spread out over the whole day, just being on camera with his friends. So
it's rough. It's really rough. While my dad, who's out here visiting, is, helping me fix my sprinkler system, fixing my busted dishwasher I just inherited. So I'm just living the dream, dicking around on the internet while my dad gets his hand in the dirt.
I've been in that spot where I've like recording. I'm in my office doing, fantasy football stuff, like half work, half personal. And then I go outside and like my parents are gardening with Rachel. And I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Hey, everybody.
It's a very emasculating thing. Like when Lauren sent me a text that said, Dan the man just fixed the dishwasher. I was like, all right, I guess if that's what we're doing here.
I'm past being emasculated at this point. I just...
Casey says, give us the Vegas details. We're going out to draft fantasy teams this past year or last year on stream with Leone, Gretch, and Karain. We drafted an NFFC team in the 5K that we just built the juggernaut of all juggernauts, swept all of it. And so we have graduated to the 10K that we're going to draft live on Friday at the Bellagio, I believe. Leone, are you doing any other drafts? Did you get in an auction draft?
I've got 3 drafts altogether, our draft and 2 other ones. I'm in an auction. I'm really looking forward to that. Although I thought Gretch was going to be going to the draft with me, but you guys have a draft at that time. So I'm manning it solo. I'm a little worried going solo, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Also, in one of our other drafts, Adam decided to side bet someone publicly prior to the draft, even though I'm the one that's going to be there and I'm going to be walking into this room.
Did he take you up on that?
I think the side bet went through. Yeah.
Yeah. That is the rich part of Adam having zero interest in grinding waivers, which is going to be a huge part of that league. Now you have to do it.
I'm walking into this room with a bullseye on me.
My God, that is hilarious. So yeah, we will. And also, what do you have on tap? I'm going to have a video and an announcement out on some of my DFS content programming. I know you guys have been gearing up over at ETR. Are we going to you're coming back Saturday. What are we doing with Establish the Million?
Establish a Million live from Vegas prior to Establish the Show. We're teeing off. We're setting up Establish the Show this week. So I'll be doing that from my hotel room in Vegas prior to the Ship Chasing 10K draft that we have together that night. Because I think that is at 7 Pacific time. And our show is going to be 7 Eastern time, 4 Pacific time, I think is how we're doing it. But I need to double check the details. But Friday evening will be Established a Millie.
And I guess we haven't said anything formally. Why don't we, are we good to kind of announce what we're thinking this year for Tilt Space?
Yes, we are.
So some of you guys might have remembered we did it on an episode of Club Top Shot. We used this site called Get Playback, which allows you to stream and have hosts basically overlaid on something everyone signs in with their cable provider for. So anything that's streaming on TV, you sign in, and we are going to be doing Tilt Space on that this year. We'll have a Tilt Space room that'll be able to share with you guys. And even if you don't have a cable provider, you can still get our audio and get us talking. But the benefit is going to be, instead of the chat spoiling it, Leone's on a Roku, I'm on DirecTV, yada, yada, we're all going to be synced up, watching the exact same feed in real time, which is going to be a ton of fun this year. So yes, Tilt Space is coming back. We're going to have all of our friends joining us when they have sweats. It's going to be a grand old time. And this year, Leone, we're going to actually be able to sweat the games. It's basically in the name itself. We're going to get to be able to do that properly.
It's going to make a tangible difference. It's going to be so much better not having stuff ruined by the chat. I mean, we very rarely got to experience stuff like super organically live, other than that CeeDee Lamb touchdown we got, though. I remember not knowing exactly what happened for that. That was nuts. I don't know if you've looked at the week 1 slate yet, but it's a late swap slate already. So
I did look at it because I was checking out. We got some Green Bay wide receivers. We got the Giants playing late, and I was like, all right, this is what we got going on here. I
KC,
am
Arizona. I mean,
just so if anyone really wants to get their bearings on Get Playback, we have already created the Tilt Space room. There's no bells and whistles, but I did drop that link in the chat. Literally all you have to do is make an account, and then you just sign in with whatever cable provider you've used to get Red Zone, and then you'll be good to go on that regard. Someone asked, is there going to be on demand? That's a good question. I know we're going to have access to the footage for clips and stuff. I don't know how the on-demand thing works. I should go check the CTS one. I will ask about that. But I think it's going to be a good move for the show overall.
yeah, it's going to be, I think, a little bit looser atmosphere. Not that we weren't loose previously, but it's gonna be more about sweating the teams, I think, than versus maybe a little bit less strategy. We'll certainly talk through it when it's pertinent, but I don't know. I'm just really looking forward to it. There were so many good experiences over the last 2 years with our sweats. We got to figure out what we're doing as far as our bankroll and stuff. But man, I'll never forget that Dallas New England overtime week.
Yeah, we're gonna huddle and figure out some of our contest stuff. Just to answer a few questions here, CB says any promo code. There's no charge to this. It's you just sign up for a free account and basically think it's like StreamYard where we're streaming here, except you're logging in with your cable provider in the same way if you were logging into ESPN to stream Monday Night Football on your desktop, and you have to log in with your cable provider.
So like when Pete had the draft board up, that will be the Red Zone. And we will be in boxes. Yeah.
Yeah. This was a screenshot of when we did it
nice.
on Club Top Shot. So you see we had the ABC feed here with the finals, and then us three down here, a chat going, someone saying Draymond is ass. it's all perfect. So that is what it will look like. And we'll have more details on that, but it should be fairly self-explanatory. And like I said, if you don't want to spring for a Red Zone, like we don't care. You'll still be able to get our audio. You just won't see the game on our screen. So
yeah,
no
they'll
harm,
still
no
see
foul.
us, right? They just won't see the.
Correct.
Yeah.
You'll just have a blank feed, and we will paint an evocative picture for you while streaming. So yeah, we're going to figure out the exact timing and all that stuff. We're going to have a little more flexibility, I think, on that. So we'll keep you guys posted, but did want to let you know Tilt Space will be back. We're very excited for it. I will be posting a week 1 strategy video on Wednesday. I pre-recorded that with my guest. I'm going to be making an announcement about on Wednesday. So looking forward to that. And I'll have a couple other DFS related announcements, but genuine thanks to everyone this summer. I love doing the Best Ball Breakfast streams, those Monday morning streams. I look forward to so much. The Monday morning streams are not going away. That'll just morph into my Monday GPP lineup reviews where I'm depressed and miserable as opposed to filled with hope and promise as I am when I draft best ball teams. But again, appreciate you guys. Shout out to Underdog. Incredible product. Make it so fun to draft all summer long. You guys make it so fun to draft. Even you, the Red Badge Brigade, that create wide receiver avalanches that I have to dig myself out of constantly. For everyone who participated in the Underdog Cardio Club, you guys are awesome. Just a truly, truly wonderful summer here on Best Ball on the Pete channel. So for Leone, for me, for Underdog, for you guys, we will see you next time. Enjoy the final few days before the season starts.